This was pretty shocking and seemed to be a sort of somewhat extreme move. I think he is an inexperienced politician. He never held political office before and has shown signs over the last months of being increasingly frustrated with the political logjam that he faces domestically. So probably some level of frustration, I guess. In the Constitution, you can only declare martial law if in extreme cases of national emergency or, like wartime or an incident or military need. And so this clearly is not a context that fits those criteria. He, throughout his term since May 2022, has faced a National Assembly controlled by the opposition party, and both his party and the opposition party show very little tolerance for the other side. And so he, for example, has used many more presidential vetoes than ever before in South Korean history. The National Assembly, meanwhile, has tried to impeach dozens of members of his government. There's a long, decades-long history of calling the opposition pro-North Korean. North Korea has also sent spies into South Korea, has tried to infiltrate domestic South Korean politics over the years as well. To the extent that they have anything going on now, I have not seen any evidence that this justification for martial law now in 2024 is valid. My understanding is that we are waiting for the president to respond to the National Assembly's nullification. And according to the Constitution, the president has to lift martial law if the National Assembly votes, as it did, to nullify it. So I think the potential scenarios that we have here is that the President Yoon could, I guess, refuse to lift martial law, and then we really would be in a constitutional crisis situation. He could mobilize the military and the police, but whether they would follow his orders or not is quite unclear in my mind. Most of the members of the military who are currently serving have only known, they're young men, they only have known democracy. I think probably we're headed towards an impeachment process, which the National Assembly would have to vote on, and the numbers are against the president's favor in the National Assembly because it's not controlled by his party. And then the Constitutional Court would have to uphold that impeachment. South Korea is one of the United States' most important allies in East Asia. And so the relationship between Seoul and Washington is critical for confronting the North Korean threat, Chinese aggression, and more recently, North Korea-Russia closer ties. My understanding is that President Yoon and President Biden have a fairly good working relationship, and they have promoted trilateral cooperation between the United States, Korea, and Japan during the last year and a half or so. That's very important for U.S. interests in the region. So the instability in Seoul, the political crisis that President Yoon unleashed with this martial law declaration is potentially damaging to the Biden administration's interests in promoting the alliance architecture in Northeast Asia. At the same time, it's the end of the Biden administration, and so we have greater unknowns as the new Trump administration comes in. I think a lot of Koreans have been concerned about the potential instability or unpredictability of Trump 2.0, and add to that the unpredictability and instability which we're now seeing unfold in Seoul, and I don't think that that is going to make it easy for policymakers and alliance managers. It also is now partnered with, in Tokyo, a relatively weak prime minister whose party is not in charge in the Diet. So we have now these three key allies who have forged a close trilateral cooperation over the last year and a half, facing politically uncertain times. And I think that opens the door to potential North Korean and or Chinese and Russian moves to destabilize the region, and that would negatively affect U.S. interests in the region.